a neat class, and I know we've got heavyweights too, but as they shared with you, single source, so group of calves all from the same producer and from the same farm, and I assume similar genetics and the same age, and consequently, there's not a whole lot of difference phenotypically from one end to the other. We do our best to sort through those things that our eyes tell us. I'm also smart enough to know that our eyes don't tell us everything, and that's what makes it challenging. I thought there was a trio of steers that probably put together those things we tend to emphasize in terms of body shape and depth of rib and depth of flank, some market readiness and smoothness, and yet some evidence of muscle shape and cutability. And of those, I thought the steer that was the stoutest from behind and gave us the most shape, at least through his quarter and down through his twist with an acceptable kind of a hind leg structure, was a young lady steer we lead with. Just a good practical kind of a market steer that puts a lot of good things together. Steer in second arguably is maybe a little heavier, maybe got just a little more to him, but proportionally a little out of balance as you study his front end. Doesn't handle with quite the shape behind his shoulder, but again, a good solid kind of a steer. Young man steer that comes in there in third. Again, another nice one that's practical. Steer that's long strided. He's flexible enough in his joints. Just a little plainer featured perhaps than that pair that we talked about. From there it gets challenging. The young man steer that comes in there next one is the heavier steers. He's one of the bigger bodied steers that we've got in this particular class, but proportionally I don't read him to be quite as opened up, particularly back through his hip and in his quarter. Same thing with as we kind of round out the class. The young people have done a great job. The lightest weight steer comes in there next. Just wish there was a little more. The big baldy steer, again long bodied, bigger framed in terms of his type and kind, not quite as stout. A steer on this end that's well fed, one of the heavier steers, but unfortunately a steer that's a little more labored in terms of his movement, having a little trouble getting around today. Congratulate these young people here in our first class of single source.
The results of our single source for class 1, we had first with a blue going to Elena Cook of Lime Creek Livewires, second with a blue going to Quinn Stoutner of Lime Creek Livewires, third with a blue going to Parker Conway of Franklin Cubs, fourth with a blue going to Clay Adrian of the Wellman Wranglers, fifth with a blue to Lindsay Schneider of Green Acres, sixth with a blue to Miles Stout of Lime Creek Livewires, and seventh with a blue going to Henry Klein of the 76 Progressives. Coming into the ring now, we have our second class of single source steers. In this class, we have Theo Klein, Lucas Bender, Mason Schneider, Callie Cook, Clay Adrian, Cooper Strand, and Leah Kelly.
We have results from our Carcass scan from this class. Our champion is Cooper Strand. He will receive $220. Second, our reserve Carcass is Leah Kelly. She'll get $135. And third, we have Callie Cook. She'll receive $90. Fourth, we have Lucas Bender. He'll receive $63. And in fifth, we have Clay Adrian, and they'll receive $42. This is part of the added money that our sponsors have. We'll also have added money for our top 5 as well.
Well, a really nice set of cattle here in your heavyweight single source class. As we commented in our lightweights, not a lot of difference from one end to the other, and I think you put them all together in a pen. You could be pretty proud of them just in terms of being practical, big-bodied, good-doing kind of cattle that got some shape, got some market readiness, have some industry value. All those things are true. So sorting them from one end to the other is a bit of a challenge because they're very, very similar. I like this steer to start with. I think just phenotypically, he's extra big-bodied, he's extra stout. He's one that you get your hands on him, you study him from shoulder to twist. That steer's got a lot of product in him. A steer that handles well from a market readiness standpoint. Maybe if we're going to be a little critical, he probably has every bit as much finish on him as he needs, and hopefully not too much. But again, a steer that puts those things together. I thought he was quite a bit stouter than the young lady steer in second, just in terms of ribeye potential, and in terms of quarter and dimension and just overall product. This is a really attractive, deep-bodied steer that moves really well. She's done a great job showing him. Just a really attractive one. Maybe not quite as stout as the two steers on either side of her from a natural whisk standpoint, but assembled quite a bit better than the young man steer in third. That steer is stout as well. He's a little coarser in his joints. He's a steer that's maybe just a little further along from a finish standpoint, not quite as shapely and fresh down his top as the two steers that we've talked about. From there, it gets very challenging for me. Young man steer that comes in there next, just a good middle of the road steer. Nothing really wrong with him at the same time. Nothing that really jumps out at you in terms of excelling compared to the others, but very solid. Good set of steers as we move through. In general, this bottom trio, not quite as good on their feet and legs. Potentially, carcass trait potential-wise, not much difference. These steers just don't move as well and aren't as correct and balanced as those at the top end. Congratulate our heavyweight exhibitors, if you would please, for a job well done.
The results of our second class of single source steers, we had first with a blue being exhibited by Mason Schneider of Green Acres, second with a blue to Callie Cook of the Lime Creek Livewires, third with a blue to Clay Adrian of the Wellman Wranglers, fourth with a blue to Lucas Bender of the 76 Progressives, fifth with a blue to Leah Kelly of the Lime Creek Livewires, sixth with a blue to Cooper Strand of the 76 Progressives, and seventh with a blue to Theo Klein of the 76 Progressives. We are going to have the top three from each of the two classes be back in for the consideration for champion and reserve champion. In the ring right now for our Championship drive from Class 1, we have Elena Cook. Second in that class went to Quinn Stoutner, and third to Parker Conway. From Class 2, we had first being exhibited by Mason Schneider, second by Callie Cook, and third by Clay Adrian. The reason that we're doing the top three in each class, is because we are going to select a top 5. So that gives us a few more animals to work with to complete that top 5 that we will be selecting for single source.
Well, congratulations to all our young people here in your single source. Very neat class. Tremendous educational value when you put together the opportunity to raise and show these steers, but then you put it together with the ultrasound and the educational program. Applaud everybody here in the county and your cattlemen's group and 4-H and Extension for doing this with tremendous opportunities for these young people. As we commented about the steers, just phenotypically, there's not a whole lot of difference between these 6. They're built very similar. They're similar genetics from the same place, so we're not shocked by that. Some difference in terms of their composition and fatness and market readiness, but those differences, to be quite candid, are pretty small. Some differences in skeletal structure and balance, which is probably the biggest difference. And at the end of the day, that's probably not the traits that matter most in the grand scheme of things. But anyway, congratulations to all these young people. We're going to rank 5, but let's put our hands together for all these kids in this division for a job well done.
The results of our top 5 for single source, we had our champion being exhibited by Mason Schneider, our reserve by Callie Cook, 3rd Elena Cook, 4th Clay Adrian, and 5th Quinn Stoutner. The award for the top award for the champion was sponsored by Peck Trucking Incorporated, and our reserve award was sponsored by Schneider Family Farms. We're now going to be getting into our crossbred division. We're going to start with Division 1. Currently in the ring for our crossbred steer Division 1 Class 2 class, we are Division 1 Class 1 class. We have Lindsay Schneider, Gatlin, Clarahan, Lane Janacek, Covert Griner, and Libby Seiko.
I like a nice pair here of lightweight crossbreds to get this division started. Pair of quality steers, lots of difference here. I like the balance, the symmetry, the completeness of the Baldy calf that we start with. I think a steer that you get your hands on him, he's certainly one that's got some shape and some openness in his top side. He's big through his hip, got plenty of muscle, and I think he's just put together a little better than our steer in second in terms of length and levelness of hip, in terms of posture to his hind leg, in terms of comfort level when we put him in motion. We like all those things. A little more extension up front as well. Probably muscles very similar, at least in their top, amongst that pair. And we got a little more balance and look here. Both those steers are maybe a notch on the light side, need just a little more time, and that's to be expected where we're at from a weight standpoint, but a nice pair of steers. Probably a little more shapeliness and expression through his quarter in the steer we got in second. I like his shape through his stifle. I like his twist. I like his expression when you get right behind him. Big through his top. Along with that, he's probably just a little rounder in terms of his hip structure. He's a little tighter in terms of his rear posture and the way he sets his hind leg. But again, a good kind of steer that's bulky, big-ribbed, powerfully muscled. Appreciate all those things. The young man's done a nice job getting him presented as well. Pair of steers dramatically different. The red steer is certainly not as flashy as those around him, but just more practical in terms of his knee, more practical in terms of his structure and soundness and his gain, and kind of reflects in his durability and his average daily gain. Really muscular steer we round off with, just too tight off both ends structurally to get him up. Congratulations. Give our lightweight exhibitors a nice hand as we get our crossbred show started.
The results of our Division 1 Class 1 of crossbred steers, we had first with a purple going to Libby Seiko of the Riverside Ramblers, second with a purple to Covert Griner of Dutch Creek Flyers, third with a blue to Gatlin Clarahan of the Dutch Creek Flyers, and fourth with a blue to Lindsay Schneider of Green Acres. Coming into the ring now, we have Division 1 Class 2. We have Mason Schneider, Stella Janicek, and Ethan Hotchkiss. We also want to recognize Stella Janicek as one of our 2026 graduating 4-H seniors.
Well, lots of variation here in our second class of lightweights. Young man steer we got, I think, a practical kind of a market steer that's big-bodied and he's finished. And in this particular class, that gets you in first hole because we got a steer in second that's maybe a little more attractive and longer body, but a steer that's just awfully green, needs more time on feed, and we need to make him more flexible in his hock, clean up those joints a little bit to make him a little more functional. Young lady steer in third that she's working hard with. Unfortunately, didn't make the gain requirement, so he needs to be third just based on the rules that you've got here in Washington County. So congratulate these young people for a job well done here in your second class.
The results of our Division I Class 2, we had first with a blue going to Ethan Hotchkiss of Green Acres, second with a blue to Mason Schneider of the Green Acres, and third with a blue to Stella Janicek of the Horse and Pony Club. We'll now be selecting a champion and reserve champion for the Division I Crossbred steers. Coming into the ring for our championship drive from Class 1, first place was exhibited by Libby Seiko, and second place by Covert Griner. From Class 2, first place was exhibited by Ethan Hotchkiss, and second by Mason Schneider.
Well, competitive lightweight division, we as we commented, maybe just like to project these cattle out a little further, make them a little bigger as we study them relative to the ideal. A nice pair that came out of our heavier weight class that the steer that wins that, just a practical, good doing kind of steer that's big bodied and well finished for his weight, probably as well finished as anything in the division. Just like to fancy him up. I thought we had a high quality pair in our first class, that there was some give and take, but both those steers got a lot of good to them in terms of muscularity, the right kind of shape and soundness, and put it together in an attractive, fresh kind of package. We're going to keep that pair together. Your two lightweights will be division champion reserve. Give those young people a nice hand.
Our Division I champion is being exhibited today by Libby Seiko. Her award is sponsored by Howard and Shirley Bohr, and Covert Griner has a reserve champion sponsored by Schneider Family Farms. We'll now be moving into our second division. There are 3 classes in Division II. Coming into the ring right now is Division II Class 1. We have Ryan Burdo, Tinley Griner, Leanne Eldridge, Avery Simon, Emerson Moore, and Cole Troyer.
everyone. My name is Avery Janacek. I am the daughter of Chris and Julie Janacek, and I'm going to be a senior at Mid-Prairie in the fall. And I am your 2026 Washington County Princess and your Cattleman's Beef Queen. Thank you.
lot of variation here to get started in our middleweights, and I think a steer that's pretty logical to win the class in terms of one that puts together the extra balance and look, but more importantly, a steer that handles as well as any of them in terms of his top shape and his squareness through his hip, and easily the steer that's built the best in terms of his structural design and soundness. Now, he needs to be burlier, he needs to be considerably stouter for me compared to ideal, but I think in this class, he's the logical place to hook. Really stout steer comes in second. This steer's big topped, he's really shapely through his quarter. That steer's got plenty of muscle and plenty of carcass trait potential. Unfortunately, a steer that's just not assembled well enough in terms of his hind leg and in terms of his comfort level from an athleticism standpoint. We just need to fix him there, but I think he's considerably better compositionally than we've got remaining in the class, so that lines him up in second. Young lady steer in third that's not cooperating too well. Really long spine, a steer that's well finished. I think it's his extra finish and his handling quality that allows him to be up here in the top end from a terminal standpoint. The red steer is arguably a little bigger bodied, a little deeper flanked, a little softer middle. Steer we'd like to see just a notch more shape to. Steer that comes in fifth. Young lady's done a good job. Again, a long bodied one that needs more time on feed to soften up in his flank, just to read a little better in terms of the amount of mass he has. Big, long bodied, one of the heavier steers in the class we wound up with. He's extra big in his frame. He's good in terms of his soundness, but just gives up some in terms of muscular shape relative to our top end. Give those kids a nice hand here as we get our middleweight started.
The results of our Division II Class 1, we had first with a purple going to Cole Troyer, second with a blue going to Avery Simon, third with a blue going to Liana Eldridge, fourth with a blue going to Ryan Burdo, fifth with a blue to Tinley Greiner, sixth with a blue going to Emerson Moore. Coming into the ring now, we have our Division II Class 2. In this class, we have Tinley Greiner, Ryan Burdo, Parker Long, we have Emily Renner, and Libby Seiko. We do want to recognize Emily Renner as being one of our graduating senior 4-H members. She is wearing one of our gray polos that was sponsored by Widoff Farm Supply.